Missiles launch, you're driving. Here's what happens next. 4:16 p.m. You're mid-lane, mid-thought, mid-life. The sun sits clean on the windshield. Tires hiss on warm asphalt. Then every phone and every car screams at once, a metallic wail that doesn't belong to any normal day. Your dashboard lights flicker like they're blinking in pain. The radio cuts to a harsh tone, then a flat voice, ballistic missile warning. Seek immediate shelter. This is not a drill. You feel your stomach drop before your brain even agrees. For 1 second, denial tries to save you. A glitch. A test. An amber alert gone feral. Then you look left. The driver beside you has both hands on the wheel, shaking. Their mouth is open, but no sound comes out. Traffic doesn't slow like a normal jam. It changes species. The flow becomes a herd setting fire. Brake lights bloom red in waves. Horns start screaming like animals. Someone behind you punches the gas and rides the shoulder. You taste metal. That's adrenaline and dry mouth and fear mixing into something old. Your fingers grip the wheel too hard. You notice how thin the car door is, how much of your life is wrapped in painted sheet metal. Another alert hits, shorter and colder. Multiple launches detected, confirmed inbound. You aren't sure if it's worse that it's brief. Brief means real. Brief means the system has no extra words to waste. Your mind starts doing impossible math. If it's intercontinental, you have maybe half an hour. If it's closer, from a submarine offshore, maybe 10 minutes. If it's aimed at a nearby base, a port, a relay station, you might already be late. You never cared about targets before. Now every piece of infrastructure becomes a bullseye. Bridges, switching yards, power substations. That communications tower you've driven past for years like it was scenery. All of it suddenly looks like a reason to die. Your GPS still shows a calm blue route line, like a joke told by a machine. You glance at the sky through the windshield. Nothing. No streak. No flash. Just blue. Just innocent. That's what makes it worse. The first wave of panic isn't running. It's freezing. People hold still with their foot on the brake, eyes wide, waiting for someone else to explain reality. The second wave is violent motion with no plan. Drivers cut across lanes, clip mirrors, mount curbs. A sedan spins out 2 cars ahead. The driver doesn't even try to recover. They just abandon it, door hanging open, and sprint across the lanes like the asphalt is turning into water. You watch them and think, where are they going? Shelter. The word feels stupidly small for what it's supposed to stop. You know the difference between cover and shelter, even if you've never needed it. A car is cover from rain. It is not shelter from a blast wave, thermal pulse, or fallout. You scan for concrete like a starving person scans for food. Overpass, parking garage, underpass. Anything with thick walls and deep mass. You think of basements you don't have access to. You think of locked doors. You think of the fact that most buildings are glass boxes. The radio tries again. Static, then a clipped emergency voice. All drivers are advised, and it cuts off mid-sentence. That cutoff lands harder than any full warning. It's the sound of systems fraying. People start calling loved ones, and the cell network instantly chokes. You see screens held up, redialing, faces tilt toward phones like prayers. Every call that fails makes the crowd louder. You glance at your own phone. It's vibrating like a trapped insect. Another alert. Another set of instructions that assume you can teleport. Seek immediate shelter. Do not evacuate. The contradiction burns in your head. You check the road shoulders. They fill with stopped cars in seconds. Hazard lights blink in a synchronized stutter. Doors slam. Footsteps hit pavement. The highway becomes a place meant for engines, now flooded with bodies. A man in a work shirt tries to drag his kid out of a back seat. The child is crying without understanding why. The man's face is a mask of forced calm that keeps breaking at the edges. You feel your throat tighten because you know that look. You remember headlines about high-altitude bursts, the invisible punch that fries electronics across enormous distances. EMP, a concept you used to file under movies and paranoia. Now you watch a new SUV ahead of you stutter, then die completely, like someone snuffed its soul. The engine noise around you thins, not from people turning off cars, from cars failing. Dashboards dim, screens go black. Electric power steering locks up. Modern vehicles become heavy, useless shells on the road. Older cars keep running longer, coughing but alive. The ones with simpler guts, fewer fragile nerves. A rusted pickup idles like nothing is happening. That contrast makes your skin crawl. Technology feels like betrayal. Your own dash flickers again. The radio dies. Then comes back as a hiss. You tap the screen. It freezes. That's when the fear becomes physical, because your tools are leaving you one by one. You realize you don't actually know where you are. Not precisely. You rely on maps and signals and little blue dots. Now you're a person on a ribbon of concrete with a sky above and a clock you can't see. Someone screams, under the bridge, like they've discovered a secret. The nearest overpass is maybe a mile ahead. A mile is nothing on a normal day. A mile is impossible when the highway becomes a parking lot. You inch forward, then stop. Inch forward, then stop. Your hands sweat on the wheel. You can smell hot brakes. You can smell exhaust building in trapped air. You can smell fear like sour breath. The crowd's logic becomes contagious. People run toward the median. They climb it, slip on gravel, scramble down the other side. They treat the opposite lanes like an escape route, as if the other direction leads away from physics. A woman in business clothes kneels on the shoulder and vomits. No one helps. Not because people are cruel, because everyone is suddenly conserving time like oxygen. You think about blast effects without wanting to. Flash blindness first if you have line of sight. Thermal pulse next if you're close enough to bake. Shock wave after, arriving like an invisible wall that shatters glass and organs. Fallout later, drifting like a slow death. You hate that your mind knows these steps. Knowing doesn't protect you. It just makes you imagine the order in which you might be destroyed. A new sound cuts through the horns. Sirens from somewhere far. Not police sirens, not ambulance sirens. Civil defense sirens, the ones you've heard only in tests, rising and falling like the voice of a city realizing it can die. You see an exit ramp ahead, crowded with cars trying to funnel into one narrow throat. People are climbing out of windows. Someone is banging on a locked door of a nearby roadside warehouse, fists pounding steel. The warehouse has walls. The warehouse has thickness. It also has locks, and locks are suddenly a kind of violence. A man throws a rock at a window and the glass shatters. The sound of it is both criminal and necessary. You watch the crowd surge toward the opening. Not a stampede yet. Something worse. A disciplined panic like water finding the lowest point. You consider joining them, but your car is boxed in by dead vehicles. Your left mirror shows a line of abandoned cars stretching back like a fossil record of decisions. Doors open, trunks open, people dumping contents onto the road, grabbing bottles, blankets, backpacks, anything that feels like a lifeline. You open your own glove box, receipts, a dead pen, a small flashlight with weak batteries, a folded napkin. Your life inventory looks ridiculous under end-of-the-world lighting. You reach under the seat. Nothing useful. No mask, no radio, no water. You feel naked, and it's not about clothes. It's about dependency. The modern world gave you comfort by removing the need to plan for catastrophe. The worst part is the clock. Not knowing exactly how long you have turns every second into a threat. If you had 20 minutes, you could move with purpose. If you have 5, every choice is a gamble with no time to correct. Your phone screen suddenly goes dark, not low battery, just dead. You tap it, hold the button, shake it like a charm. Nothing. The loss feels intimate, like a friend dropping your hand. Around you, other screens die too. You can see the moment it spreads. People stare, curse, slap their phones. The network doesn't fail politely. It collapses like a bridge with too many bodies on it. The sky remains unchanged. That's how catastrophes begin. They don't announce themselves with visuals. They announce themselves with systems failing and people realizing they were never in control. You hear someone mention a flash coming. Someone else says interceptions are happening. Someone else swears they heard a plane overhead that wasn't there before. Rumors multiply like bacteria. Information at this moment is poison disguised as clarity. Everyone wants certainty. Everyone becomes a broadcaster. The loudest voice wins, not the most accurate one. A man climbs onto the hood of a car and shouts directions like he's command staff. Go east, away from the city. People obey because he sounds sure. You catch yourself almost believing him, then you remember missiles don't care which way you drive. You think of doctrine without meaning to. Counterforce targets first, command and control, airfields, naval bases, rail hubs, power generation. Then countervalue if it spirals. Cities, the places where the most people live, because fear is also a weapon. You realize you might already be inside a ring you never knew existed. Not a city ring, a target ring. You've been commuting through potential ground zero for years without knowing it. Your car shudders, the engine stutters once, then again. Lights dim, then steady. Your heart tries to climb out through your throat. If the car dies now, you're not just stuck. You're part of the barricade. You make the decision before you finish thinking it. You unbuckle. You grab the weak flashlight. You take your jacket because layers are the cheapest kind of protection. You step out into the roadway. The air is loud, not just horns. Human noise, crying, shouting, the sound of hundreds of people discovering mortality at the same time. You close the door and the click sounds final, like sealing a tomb. The asphalt radiates heat through your shoes. You smell gasoline. Somewhere a tank has ruptured and fuel is spilling, shimmering in thin rainbow sheets. You understand with sudden sharp fear that fire is now as likely a killer as any missile. You move between cars, hands up in that instinctive gesture of apology, as if you're cutting through someone's living room. Faces watch you with suspicion. The social contract is already tearing at the seams. Up ahead, the crowd thickens near the overpass. People are clustering around the concrete supports like moths around a pillar. Some are lying down, some are crouched. Some are staring upward, waiting for a light that may arrive without warning. You reach the base of the overpass and feel the temperature change, shade, concrete. The structure hums faintly with trapped vibration from the highway, like a giant holding its breath. A woman near you whispers, "Get away from the openings." She pulls her child deeper into the shadow. Her voice is calm, which is unnatural here. Calm is either experience or shock. You follow her instinct. You move away from the edges where the skyline is visible. You press closer to the thickest part of the support, putting as much dense material as possible between you and whatever direction death might come from. Someone says, "Close your eyes when it happens." Someone else says, "Open your mouth so your eardrums don't burst." Someone else laughs a short, broken laugh because the brain sometimes chooses absurdity when reality is too heavy. Your breathing becomes shallow. You force yourself to inhale deeper. Panic steals oxygen first. If you faint, you can't move. If you can't move, you can't correct your position. You listen for sounds that aren't there yet. Jet engines, explosions, another alert tone. Instead, you hear only the scrape of shoes on concrete and the distant churn of traffic still trying to exist. Then comes a strange quiet. Not complete silence, but a thinning. People stop talking. Even the horns die down as more cars lose power or get abandoned. The world seems to dim like a theater before a show starts. In that near quiet, you become hyper-aware of small sounds. A toddler's wet sob, a man's teeth chattering, the rustle of someone unwrapping a candy they'll never finish. The human body clinging to routine as an anchor. You glance out at the road. Heat haze ripples above the cars. A line of vehicles sits like a frozen river. It's beautiful in a sick way, like a photograph of civilization paused mid-sentence. You realize evacuation is an illusion. Even if you had perfect information, the roads can't carry everyone at once. The highway is a bloodstream designed for normal flow. Under panic, it clots instantly. A voice from deeper under the overpass mutters, "I lived through a blackout once." People lost their minds in hours. Another voice answers, "This isn't ours." No one contradicts them. Time drags and sprints at once. Your thoughts cycle through the same choices, like a looped emergency broadcast. Stay under the overpass. Find deeper shelter. Run to a building. Crawl into a drainage culvert. Each option has its own set of ways to die. You notice a maintenance hatch near the pillar. A steel cover set into the ground. 2 men are prying it open with a tire iron. The screech of metal is sharp, almost hopeful. Underground is deeper. Deeper means more mass. More mass means more chance. People gather, but not too close. Nobody wants to be the first into a hole. Nobody wants to be the last out if it floods. Fear makes everyone a risk analyst for the first time in their life. The hatch gives. A damp breath rises from below, smelling of rust and stale water. One man shines a phone flashlight down, then remembers his phone is dead. He curses and uses a small battery lantern instead. A woman asks, "Is it safe?" And the question hangs there, absurd and sincere. Safe compared to what? safe compared to a fireball, safe compared to fallout, safe compared to panic. The men start helping people down, one at a time, hands gripping wrists, shoes slipping on metal rungs. You watch the line form and you understand this is what survival looks like now. Not heroism, logistics. Your body is tense, but your mind gets strangely clinical. Stay out of sight lines. Stay away from windows. Put dense material between you and the outside. Prepare for dust that carries death. Don't drink exposed water. Don't touch your face. Rules stack up like sandbags. A sound pulses from somewhere far. A low rolling boom, or maybe thunder, or maybe your imagination trying to give shape to fear. Everyone goes still. Eyes snap upward as if the sky owes an explanation. Nothing follows. No flash. No shock wave. Just the return of small human noises, and a murmur of confusion. That uncertainty is its own torture. You think if it hits somewhere else, you won't know. If it hits your own region, you might only know when the light arrives. Modern life trained you to expect immediate updates. Now the update might be silence. Minutes pass, maybe 5, maybe 15. Time loses its edges. You find yourself staring at the concrete texture, the tiny stones embedded in it, as if memorizing it could keep you grounded. Then, suddenly, the world feels wrong in a different way. The air seems to press, not from blast, from anticipation. People start whispering about secondary strikes, about retaliation, about aircraft already in the air. You picture command rooms you will never see, screens glowing, officers speaking in coded brevity, DEFCON levels shifting like tectonic plates, a chain of decisions made faster than humans were built to decide. You imagine satellites watching plumes, radar arcs tracking objects moving faster than any storm, interceptors climbing like needles toward a point in the sky. Your life reduced to data in someone else's time window. A child asks her mother if they're going to die. The mother says no, too quickly. Her voice breaks on the word. The child doesn't believe her, but she clings to it anyway, because children are designed to trust. You swallow hard. Your mouth tastes like pennies. Your legs ache from standing. You crouch, then sit with your back against the pillar. The concrete is cool, steady, indifferent. Another distant boom rolls across the horizon. This one feels real, not loud. Just deep, like the ground itself exhaling. A few people scream. Others cover their ears. Someone shouts, down. You flatten instinctively, face to the ground. Hands over your neck. Mouth open, because you remember the rule even if you don't trust it. Your heart slams like it's trying to outrun your ribs. And then nothing. No wave. No glass shattering. No wind. Just the sound of your own breath and someone nearby sobbing into their sleeve. The absence of impact is almost worse than impact would be. People slowly lift their heads, eyes searching the skyline. The city, whatever city lies beyond, looks unchanged from here. No mushroom cloud, no new sun. Just buildings and haze, and a normal afternoon pretending to exist.